again. It's after work and I'm running errands, and it just so happens that usually about this time of week I swing by to our local Goodwill and just want to see what kind of cameras they might have there. And I found one today. I don't know if it works, but the outward appearance when I purchased it was, it looks like it's in great shape. Right now it's cloudy. We got a promise of a storm hitting us this evening and carrying over into tomorrow morning. So when I go to work tomorrow morning, there's a good chance we're going to have rain, snow, frozen rain on the way to work that I hope is going to turn into a good photo opportunity, as it were. And this right here is the camera that I had purchased. It's the Pentax IQZoom 160. And it doesn't have a battery in there, so I wasn't able to turn it on. It did cost $12.49, which I think is a reasonable cost for a point and shoot camera, fancy one. I want to share a little bit of what I did when I was in my local Goodwill store. And I spotted this camera on the shelf. I picked it up and I did a basic overall view, look, see, check to see if there was anything broken, check to see if there was any film in there. And then when I was ready to do it, I went and flipped on the on switch, turned it on, and of course, it didn't come on. That could either meant a dead battery or there was no battery. So when I popped the battery cap open and checked, there was no battery in there. So that's when I decided to go ahead and do a visual of the battery compartment to see if there were any corrosions. And it was actually a very clean, pristine battery compartment, just didn't have a battery. I couldn't turn it on to check the lens, see how the lens condition was. But what I could do is pop the back open. Oops. There we go. Pop the back open to have a look-see. Now, this is the opportunity to where you could see the glass, at least on the inside, and do a visual and throw it into the light and see if you can see all the way through there and look for things like cracks or broken glass in there. I knew then that this camera was worth purchasing and trying out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load film into here, and this I want to share with you. The later cameras, especially the point and shoot cameras, film cartridges, could be Kodak, in this case Ilford is what I'm going to shoot. They had what is called a DX code. Now, unlike the old mechanical cameras where you either threw in whatever ASA you wanted and then adjust your exposure, the newer cameras, they had probes that come out from inside the camera compartment here, and you needed a DX film for this. Now, I'll show this to you. I'll open up this box. This is a box of Ilford Delta 400. That's what I want to shoot in this round here. And the reason for that is when I got online to do a little research on this camera, I wanted to find out what the default ISO ASA was. In this particular case, the camera, the Pentax IQZoom 160, the ASA ISO was 25 default. They did, however, recommend, because of the fact that it is a camera that was built for DX code off the cartridges, recommend that 400 film is used. If you look real hard right here, looks like a large barcode right there. That is the contacts that go into the DX probes. There are in this one, there are, and I believe the standard was 4. So there are 4 probes in there, and then whatever connection it makes on here, the camera knows automatically that this roll of film in that camera is 400 ASA. And so when you go into auto mode, it knows that it's at 400 ASA. I would suggest you take a while and look in the, go online and look and read about the DX code. This is Ilford Delta 400, 36 exposure, so I got a lot of film to burn up. And the intent over the weekend, the next couple of days, is to burn up this roll of film. I'm not looking for compositions or beauty or whatever, because I don't know if this camera works. I just want to shoot, regardless of composition and thought, and just see if this camera works. I want to burn it all up. So I'm putting the film in, and where it's marked out at on the leader end, you can see film, maybe, but in any event, it says film. Then we're going to close it up, and if everything goes well, it's going to advance the film. All right. I don't know if you could see that, but right there on the LCD or the display is the number 1. So it's a safe bet. It's ready to go. Let's turn it on. All right. Flash comes out, so that works. That popped open, so that worked. And I'm going to share with you this lens. This lens is a SMC Pentax zoom lens. And the focal length ranges from 38 millimeter to 160 millimeter. So quite a spread. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. I'm going to turn this off. Keep in mind, when you look for these point and shoot cameras of the late 20th century, i.e. 1980, 1990, this camera was released back in 1987 as an example, you need to consider the DX code. And if I remember, I might even post it down, a link down below, so that way you can look that up. But that's very important, that when you shoot canisters, or I'm sorry, when you use the film canister, that you, well, one or two options. First option is go online, find out what the default ASA is for the camera. Pentax here, it's got a default ASA of 25. I don't have any rolls of film at 25, and a matter of fact, I don't even know as I could develop that with the Caffenol. Therefore, if you can't retrieve or achieve or get a roll of film, then get the DX code. As a matter of fact, on the box of Ilford that I'm using, let's see, I read on here, I'm pretty sure it's on here, there we go. DX 135 by 36 exposure. It's telling you that this roll of film is DX compatible. So I know that it's going to work on this at 400 ASA. So look at the box. I know that Kodak has DX code, be it T-Max or Tri-X. The Ilford Delta 400 does. So keep that in mind when you purchase these point and shoot cameras. So without further ado, I'm going to take off. I got some errands to run, and I got a roll of 36 exposures to burn up. Thrift store, take 5. Let's just cut it short, Chuck. Wow. Were they not great photographs? This little camera is worth the $12.49 that I paid for it. I am quite impressed with the zoom. Well, let's not beat around the bush. I'm just frankly quite impressed with this old point and shoot camera. And if I had any suggestions at all whatsoever to offer, say, the young people who are considering film camera, I would just suggest go to the thrift stores in your local community and just look around. You might be surprised what you'll find on the shelves. Be sure to take your time. Be sure to look over the camera. Be sure to look over the basic battery compartment, lenses, film compartment. And if it looks good for you and it's fairly inexpensive, go for it and get it. And then get the, I'd say, the most inexpensive DX film that you can get. I would say right now, it's not that I'm endorsing them, but I would say right now, at least in my fridge, for DX film 135 or 35 millimeter film, the Ilford Delta 400 is about the most inexpensive film that I would have with the DX code. If you're thinking about film, there's very inexpensive ways that you can start into it. Having said that, I'd like to close this episode out by saying I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd like to thank those who have subscribed to my channel. Thank you very much. And I hope those that have watched any of my episodes considered subscribing and hadn't yet, please do. And I'm just going to wrap this up and say, we'll catch you later.